I want to talk about Canelo and Callum Smith first as well. Again, it was another just well-rounded, um, just very steady and well-rounded, and just excellent performance from Canelo Alvarez. Man, again, when I did my pound for pound list, I had this guy number one, and I feel like there's really not there's no argument to put somebody else number one pound for pound at this point with the amount of times that he jumps around weight classes and he's fighting these guys that are clearly, naturally a lot bigger than he is, and he's overpowering them and he's outskilling them, and he just outdoes them in every way. Kovalev and now Callum Smith. It's like he's so offensive minded, but he doesn't get hit. He does not get hit. Particularly in this fight, because he switches up depending on the opponent. But in this fight, like, Canelo was exclusively front foot. Exclusively front foot. He walked Smith down the whole fight. His upper body movement and his glove parries make it so hard to hit him clean. Because if you try to throw an uppercut, he just rocks back a little. You try to throw the right hand, he rolls that. You try to throw a body shot, he steps back. Like, he's a complete master of range now. It's not like he's just a big guy that out physicals people. He's outboxing all of these guys. He has better skills than all of them, and on top of that, he's bigger, stronger, faster. His upper body movement in this fight, man, was just silly, because early in the fight, you could see Callum Smith trying to establish his jab, and he couldn't land it, man. He just couldn't land it. Part of that, I think, is because he was throwing it too high. If you're going to, it's particularly with that height advantage, you want to jab, more at the chest and the shoulders just to make contact. But when you can't even get glove, again, like fighting Golovkin, when you can't even get glove on a jab, it gets very difficult for you to throw your offense, because you're already sort of assuming that stuff is going to miss. And I think it was just super hard for Callum Smith to get an offensive rhythm going, to get any kind of confidence going, because all of his big shots were just air. I can't remember one clean headshot he landed the whole fight. Even throwing body shots, Canelo's catching him on the elbows. It's a lot to handle, man. You got somebody coming forward that has that level of understanding of range, whose feet are that good, cuts off the ring. It's like he gets on the inside without throwing a punch, because his head movement is so good. It's like he's just on you before you know it, and you can't even put a hand on him with your fucking jab. It's really, he's by far, in my opinion, the best fighter of the moment, and one of the best fighters of the era. There's no debate on that at this point. And it didn't matter what Callum Smith threw at him. It was, nice uppercuts. He would try to throw little combinations, and he would just miss 4 or 5 punches just throwing at air. And that's the Mayweather effect that Canelo has, where, you get so caught up, like you're really ready to touch something. And when you can't, you start questioning everything, and it makes you hesitant to let your hands go. And that's part of how, at that elite level, that Mayweather-Canelo level, these guys take great fighters and make them look normal. They make them look like they don't really know what they're doing. And it's very special. I think we're watching, one of the all-time greats right now. And a guy that can just do it all. So when you think about what's next for Canelo, he said that he wanted to unify the division. That includes fighting Caleb Plant. That includes fighting Billy Joe Saunders. I think those are good fights. I would love to see him and Billy Joe. I would love to see him and Caleb Plant. I think a slept-on fight at 168 would be a fight between Canelo and David Benavidez. Benavidez is young, but his hand speed, his combination punching, his size, I think he's naturally just a little more aggressive and athletic than Callum Smith or than Kovalev. And he just has more of that kind of youthful enthusiasm on his punches where, he really lets his hands go. I don't know if he'll be able to do that kind of stuff against Canelo, but at super middleweight, those are the 3 fights I think that are the most interesting. But it also comes down to, like, what weight class is Canelo in? Is he willing to go down to middleweight? is he going to go back up to light heavyweight at some point if it's the right fight? And it's hard to know. But my opinion is that it seems really unlikely that he's going to go down to middleweight again unless it's for a third Golovkin fight or it's for, a fight with somebody that's a big star that's moving up. If it's Errol Spence called him out at the fight during an interview. So maybe there's a welterweight or a junior middleweight star that moves up that he wants to make a fight with. I could see that. But outside of that, I don't think it's going to happen. At light heavyweight, if he really wants to make a claim to being the best, he's going to have to fight Artur Beterbiev. I think that as far as this weight neighborhood, if you're looking for the absolute most challenging fight Canelo can take, I think that's the one. Beterbiev is just a really rugged, technically sound Russian fighter with a lot of experience. He's I think he's 35 or 36, but he's essentially taken no punishment. And I think he's in his prime right now. That's a very difficult, rugged fight for anybody. And I think that on the level of I want Canelo to take the most difficult fight that he could possibly take, I think that's the fight.